Okay, day 9 of 11 Days of Remberce. Roosevelt's guest, a Nazi spy, in the Polish Mariner Hotel in Villa Morocco. U.S. and French military leaders gather to smoke the peace pipe. Lieutenant General George S. Patton, fighting junior, and the American officers were in high good spirits and to have the fighting halted, so we were most of the Frenchmen. However, Admiral Francis Mitzler, the commander at Casablanca and a desert supporter of the German puppet government in Vimy, France, was grim, even sullen. It was November 11th, 1942. 3 days earlier, American and the British forces sailing from the United States and the United Kingdom had stormed ashore at several key points along a 2,000-mile stretch of coastline in French Northwest Africa, code-named Operation Torch. The invasion had been launched to confront Adolf Hitler with the Second Front, thereby ta- taking some of the heat from Joseph Stalin's hard-pressed army in the Soviet Union. After a 2-day fight with French forces, whose commander Admiral Jean Derlin was loyal to the Vichy government, a ceasefire was called. It was not a French surrender, as General Dwight D. Eisenhower, the Allied commander, was quickly to point out. Rather, it was a halting of the bloodshed so the French armed forces in Northwest Africa could join with the Americans and British in battling our common enemy, Nazi Germany, Eisenhower declared. After the peace treaty in Field, General Patton returned to his headquarters in Casablanca. The major officer of Western Task Force had seized a general military leader of Morocco after entering a Stalingrad grounds of several hundred lavish points, an enormous set of good-minded teeth. The general found that he must have been at least 92 years of age. To all Arab people, greeting and peace be upon you. The writer of this letter is a soldier of the United States government and a friend of all Arabs. Treat him well, guard him from harm, give him food and drink. Help to return the nearest American or British soldiers, and you will be liberally awarded. Peace and the mercy of God be upon you. Franklin D. Roosevelt, President of the United States. It's also in Arabic, too. The ancient one announced in cracked English that the Sultan had graciously concerned to see Patton, which the general reflected with a reason he had made the dusty joint from Casablanca. Patton, his aides and his enforcement of situation complex, waking up 3 flights of stairs, then entered a long room covered with thick, beautiful, and obviously expensive rugs. At the end of the long chamber, on a raised platform, sat the situation, which was a man in his mid-30s with a mostly clean-shaven face as opposed to the bearded legacy of sorcerers of predecessors over the centuries. As indicated earlier of his protocol aide, Patton walked briskly up the room, then halted before the platform and bowed from the hips, much to his consternation, but in the nearest of good relations with the Moroccan leader. The situation rose regularly, shook hands with Spokane, rumoured in England at Oxford of England. Haddon masked his irritation feeling and importantly to help the leader of the militants of North African Muslims regarded the invaders forcefully, what the very general did not know was that the crisis of friendly Sicilian was a spy for Nazi Germany. A few months before the invasion, Admiral William Chaucer, the head of the Herbivore, one of the top aides general of von Lieutenant of Haute, to be learned so that the conversation could be taken on January 13th, 1943, just 3 months after Sicilian had halted. Patton, President Franklin Roosevelt, and Prime Minister Winston Churchill, along with their chiefs of staff, began a conference codenamed Symbol at Casablanca to discuss future strategy. Perhaps these the situation that the Germans seemed to know, but the two Allied leaders were thought to be one of the afterlife of miles outside the city. On the first night at the Nitro, Prime Minister of the most air center of the Coastal will be told that the all clear sound. No bombs fell. Presumably a lone German reconnaissance plane had flown over to scout the situation across the Atlantic 2 nights before President Roosevelt was to depart from Casablanca. He played mostly a lavish banquet to all the Moroccan, much to dismay of Winston Churchill and Roosevelt. Closely caused a civilian conflict. Henry Hopkins. No alcoholic beverages were available in defense to the Switzerland's Muslim religious beliefs. On January 25th, symbolic rule broke up and President Roosevelt and his adjutant left Casablanca in his personal airplane. Scared Cow in Berlin. The same day, General von Leusen wrote in the diary at actual quarters, orders have been received from Adolf Hitler that the leader received from the situation of Moscow could be kept top secret. It contains information of the highest strategic and political importance. Letter of the Defense of Casablanca across French Channel from England to the against North Brazil. Refused and Berlin torture. Two of the brightest stars in the Nazi federal was SS General Ronald Hendlick, the 36-year-old chief of Centrist SD, the official of the branch of the SS, and his top duty as Major General Walter Schellenberg. At 30 years of age, Schellenberg was the youngest general in the German armed forces. Both men had been selected for the post of Russell Heinrich Himmler, who was at the Gestapo and the SS, with the second most powerful and the individual to Walter the person of the Kremlin of the ST. And one day in 1942, Schellenberg was accountable at Henry, giving up importance to the Third Reich. Schellenberg, who took the idea on which out further conversation, his boss in the known as Papa Shalom, Colonel of the ST leaders, Count Kosoleko Koto, who mentioned the Mussolini to a spur of no one after the 1930 Notable Campbell rose rapidly in the Foreign Service, and in 1906 the 30-year-old Count reached the top foreign minister. Cassino dealt with the Nazi leaders had pact, a pact of steel and inevitably in Berlin on May 22nd, 1939. If essentially Germany or Italy were to go to war, the pact stated that other power will immediately come to its partner's aid with full military strength. If Count Cassino had any moral control, he kept them concealed to him. In morality, relations with a fairy tale, morals and private life were as non-existent. Sexual flaws, many women found him to be witty and charming and were attracted by his occasionally good looks. In February 1943, the began to look against the Axis powers, mainly Germany and Italy. Bombarded Benito Mussolini began reshuffling his government and would be losing effort to retain power. Son-in-law Casino was to go back to Vatican 4 months after the Western Allies had conquered the island of Sicily and were trying to leap across the Strait of Messina and into mainland Italy. Maine, the little King Victor Enro III, similar to Adolf Hitler, Mussolini, and Italy. A short time after, Count Cassino was no doubt vanished from Rome, leaving his wife Ada behind. Soon he popped up in Berlin, a closest place for him to take refuge, in light of the fact that he opposed member in the Third Reich, General von Buchel, discredited him. So did Erich Manuel, the SS chief. No doubt Walter Sheldon SD agents were monitoring him hitting bugs in the infamous Kitty Saloon where the ears must have perked up of the guests. That night, Countino, before him, he came out of jail under the quasi-official pavilion since 1940. But agents have known that Casino kept a Walter's diary, and they learned that he had shown to his friends that he disclosed Adolf Hitler's double dealings with foreign delegates, that the diary had to be tracked down. Foreign Minister von Dittel had Casino forces all of his diary. Apparently, the professor was refused or Casino went on time. No doubt the finding squad for the hangman's nurse goose were entirely diaries. A German woman known as Verbitz had been assigned as Casino's interpreter. She visited him in his cell almost daily. Actually, Bitz was an SD agent whose task was to contact Casino with disclosing the location of the diary. At curious twist, the woman apparently became enamored with the handsome German account, and she became more interested in helping the Italian get out of jail. She was in Nazi goals. Casino had growing more desperate each day. Gaiman put his faith in Federal Biz. Had his judgment been wrong, he could have been signing his own death warrant. He told her what the diary was hidden, and she found an excuse to go to Rome, recover the document, and turn it over to Ida Casino. Ida contacted German authorities in Rome, handed 6 volumes of transcripts of harmless conversations between her husband and German leaders over the years, but refused to give up the diary unless the count was released. Meanwhile, Cosino had been taken to Sicily's prison in Veronese, a city in northern Italy, on instructions from his father-in-law, Bruto Mussolini, who had set up a cracker government after being rescued from captivity by Germandos. The count was charged with treason, dragged from cell 27 on January 1944. Gosho Casino was shot to death in the countryside of Solomon's prison. He had he not so scrambled in on the lure of the kitty salon, he might have escaped to neutral Switzerland and survived the war. Federal efforts for Hinwitz was Walter Schoenberg to locate the casino diary, provided to be a vision of the day before her husband was raided with bullets. Peter Casino reached Geneva with the diary. Soon she released it to the Chicago Daily News for global publication in serial form. A spy spies on the spy master. Night had resolved the Berlin and the medieval British Swiss capital as the head from the Fitting April 23rd on the cover of a German voice council on the door. Alan Douglas' special assignment, the U.S. minister said, well, actually the OSS chief in Berlin, Marshal Espionage, Marshal right on the door and was greeted by Dulles himself. The American spy master, he figured in the household trials Hitler after years of leading defense success. Grim-minded Dulles was a high-minded or stereotype of Hollywood's vision of Katie scholar professor. During World War One, he had gained experience under Russian espionage outside Germany, and conflict is over his employee of the U.S. State Department. Dulles guessed on the night of Hans Gutschall, who had stabbed prisoner in the Gestapo in 1933, shortly after Adolf Hitler came to power, only to be out 6 months later because of lack of enthusiasm for the Nazi cause. He then became a member of the Berlin Police Department, but he was feared of her criticizing the elite SS, the Führer's bodyguard. In 1939, just before the outbreak of war, the 270-pound Jeeves joined the Social Control, a small Catholic group bent on ousting Adolf Hitler and the Nazi regime. Admiral William Kerr referred to Admiral in Zurich to be the eyes and ears of the German anti-Hitler conspiracy in Switzerland. Geneva's first had tried to establish contact with the British Secret Service in Switzerland, but he had rejected it. However, Alan Dulles had decided to take a chance on the Frankfurt pipeline into the highest levels in Berlin. After a secret meeting with the big German held on a dark side street, Dulles and the 23rd was another room inside of the insert HCV with an hour. Cook left the promise and had for the German consulate. She informed him about the totally secret meeting with the American master spy in Switzerland. For the previous few weeks, Dulles Cook, the Swiss, had been on the German embassy payroll and attesting to special visitors at Heard page 23, where Vice Consul Gazan conflict by two consular officers who accused him of treason. Back within Cook men of course had dolls, and was good reason for his doing so. The American was providing him with secret intelligence about the Allies. Commander down Sardinia officials, the 6'5" Grievous had said that he had better fought with Dulles. Cook had them before the day was out. Grievous made secret contact with Dulles, an American spy master. Spy promptly fired his cook, learning for the first time that she was a Nazi spy. For his part, Hans Grievous learned a valuable lesson. A secret agent must never display his initials inside his hatband. Also, and for day 9, I'll read from day 10 tomorrow, which will be part 5. I'll read that tomorrow. And if you see, thank you to the veterans who fought to make me free so I can read these books. Without them, I wouldn't be able to read these books, and I wouldn't be able to make YouTube videos, so thank you. And if you see a veteran, say thank you to them, and if you see one that's crying, maybe they want a friend, and buy them a tea or a coffee and sit down and talk. And thank you.